I've been thinking a lot about the progression of Magic the Gathering, with especially with IPs and what's going on with them right now, and kind of like how Magic's progressed over the years, especially the 30 plus years that it's been going. And as I mentioned before, I started playing back in '94 when I was like 10, 11 years old. And it's funny because back then it was a Magic the Gathering was a game that was played by people that were different. The whole D&D thing, Magic the Gathering, comic books, all the video games, like things that weren't really accepted by regular, the regular culture nowadays. And the progression of Magic throughout the years, I think it kind of shows that it's not like that anymore, which is kind of it's good. Overall it's a good thing, but it's just kind of different because cards were simple back then. Cards were, I don't want to say boring, but they were artistic. They were beautiful, and you really, really appreciated the art of a Magic card. Look at an old school Shivan Dragon. Look at a Vesuvan Doppelganger. Look at like an old Soul Ring or something like that. Any of those cards, they're absolutely gorgeous. And we kind of look into today and what's different. And there's a whole bunch of things that have changed, and we can talk about like the lottery cards from like the Zendikar era, Amonkhet, Kaladesh, that kind of stuff. But really, I want to talk about IPs today and how it's changed with Magic, and where we are moving forward and how I feel about it. So I know years ago they made like that My Little Pony thing. I wasn't playing during that time, and I think it was kind of like a one-off or something like that. Again, I'm not completely sure because I didn't play back then. But it's like the galloping, whatever it is. And that was kind of like a trial thing probably from back then. Nowadays, it's really changed. We're in that IP era of where things are going, and how they're trying to get everything accepted with Magic the Gathering. As before, like I said, it was like we were the nerds, man. We were the geeks. We were the losers. All we did back in the day, man, was skate and play Magic cards. That's what we did, and we were just different. And now the goal, I think, as a company of Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, obviously, is to make money. It's a company, so they're going to try to get as many players and collectors and gamers as they can into Magic the Gathering, which I totally understand. It's a business. The big the big moment, I think, when everyone realized that there was a big change was a few years ago when they did the Walking Dead Secret Lair. And it was funny because I am a huge Walking Dead fan. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I was a huge fan of Walking Dead until Rick left the show. Personal opinion. I think I've tried to watch that show 10 times straight from the beginning to end again. Once Rick leaves the show, I'm sorry, the show just fell off a cliff. They should have ended it with Negan. Personal opinion. Anyways, I'm going to leave that tangent right there. But Walking Dead Secret Lair was coming out, and I was super excited for it. I'm like, oh, this is going to be fucking awesome. I love the show. Can't wait to build decks around it. Problem was, it was mechanically unique cards. So what it did was the community was basically really pissed off because you're having a sale that could last as long as the supply is, which I don't remember how long it lasted, but mechanically unique cards for a set that once they're gone, they're gone. There's nothing you can do about it. And if you were lucky enough to get these, you got them, great. So there was kind of like this boycott, you could say, this mass boycott in the Magic community to like, don't buy these. It's vote with your money, vote with your wallet kind of thing. And the community, they kind of did. And I can tell you, I didn't buy any. Moving forward, I wish I did. I'm a huge Walking Dead fan. Now I see where we are now with IPs and where the direction's going. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. Going back to then, I forget what year it was, 2021, something like that. 2020, 2021, when the Walking Dead Secret Lair came out. I wish I would have bought them. I was a fan of it. I absolutely love it. But I was trying to support the community because I really believe that we should vote with our wallets, and I was a firm believer of that. Even though I knew that the people that bought them were just going to buy something, the price, the value would skyrocket, and all those dirty scalpers can make a bunch of money. But still, I did want them. To this day, I still have not owned a Walking Dead card. It's fine. It's no big deal. But I think going back, I wish I did because I realized that now that the IP thing is just taken off, and that's this direction they're going. And I really hated it. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was just dumb. I'm like, oh, great. I can, the old joke is I can equip Megatron with Lucille Negan's bats, and you're going to block it with the second Doctor equipped with the Mithril coat or whatever it is. It's just one of those things. And so for a long time, I really didn't like it. When IPs came out for Secret Layers or whatever, I didn't buy them. I really did. I stayed away from it. I didn't like it because, again, my mindset was like, no, man, we're supposed to be attacking with a Shivan Dragon, and you chump block with a Serra Angel. That's what you're supposed to do because that's what Magic is. But the simple thing is that's just not what it is anymore. And any older Magic player knows that feeling. But also recently, very recently in this past 6 months, I would say, really, honestly, this really happened to me the past month, was where I really understood it. And I really understood why. And I've actually come to grown to love the IPs. And I'll tell you my reasoning for that. I thought that all those IPs would ruin what Magic the Gathering is. I thought that it was a fantasy role playing style game, where you take the role of a planeswalker and you're attacking, you're defending, you're casting spells, you do all these things, and the lore of Magic the Gathering, the planes you're on, and while I'm not an expert in the lore and all that, but I appreciated it and I respected it. And I really love the old school like arts and all that. The moment I realized it was different was when the Deadpool Secret Layers came out. And I really loved them. I made a video talking about them when they were released on the surprise April Fool's Day, 12 days ago, where it was. And I got them in my hand last week and I unboxed them. They're absolutely gorgeous. And now, full disclosure, I don't do comic books. I never really did. I read a few Spider-Man comics when I was younger, but I never really got big into them. Love the Marvel, the MCU, love the Marvel Universe. So I was really excited when those Secret Layers were coming out. I jumped on them. I got a bunch of them. I still have some sealed, and I want to hold on to some of those sealed. But the Deadpool Secret Layer was different. Something about it, it just really hit me. Again, I wasn't big on the comics, but love the movies. I've seen all those movies a million times. I literally, when I tell you, I watched the trailer for Deadpool Wolverine 50 times because that's how awesome the trailer was and how excited I was for the movie. That's not an exaggeration. I probably watched it more than that. It was fucking awesome. And so when I saw those Deadpool Magic cards, I finally got it. Like the Marvel ones, start to understand it, but the Deadpool ones really hit me. And the reality is, it's bringing people to the game. Back in the 90s, when we were the nerds playing the game, and it was like, oh, you play Magic the Gathering? Like, what are you, a loser? That was kind of that feel. Even though it's called The Gathering, you're meant to gather together. That's the point of all of it, is to gather and play cards together. The Gathering. And that's actually what the IPs are doing now. And I respect it. I appreciate it. And the biggest point is that you're supposed to grab the ones that you can connect with and appreciate with. Do I have a connection with SpongeBob SquarePants? No, I never really watched it. I know what it is, obviously. I've seen it, I've seen it. But like, I didn't get the Secret Lair. I was going to, but I actually missed it. I forgot about it. But like, do I care that I missed it? No, not really. I probably would have been a little pissed if I missed the Deadpool one or the Marvel one, because those are pretty awesome. Like the Iron Man one is phenomenal. I love it. I built Wolverine. It's incredible. But the point is that it's bringing people into the game that never would have gone to the game before. I mean, that's the point of it. And whether it be Transformers or Doctor Who or Warhammer or actually I got a little list here. I just trying to forget. Dungeons and Dragons, I wouldn't say that's an IP because it's owned by the same company, but kind of is. I mean, obviously Lord of the Rings, Creepshow, Doctor Who, Evil Dead, Princess Bride, Jurassic Park, Tomb Raider. I forgot about Tomb Raider one. Clue, Fallout. Some of these are absolutely huge names, and some are a little bit smaller. I mean, Child's Play. Yeah, I mean, cool movie. Liked it back in the 80s when I saw it. Ghostbusters. Okay, sure. But you know what? I love the Ghostbusters movie. Did I run out and buy the Secret Lair? No. I mean, it's okay. Nothing I really needed. But if you are like a super crazy fanboy, fangirl of like Ghostbusters, and all of a sudden you go, what's this Magic the Gathering thing? Maybe you never heard of it. Maybe you did hear about it, but you never really want to jump into it. And all of a sudden there's these cards. There's this Egon card that you absolutely love or whatever. And you're like, well, I can have this as a playing card and like play in a deck with it. And it brings you into the game. Then that's a good thing. It really is. And I think one of my biggest fears when the IPs were starting going crazy was that like all we're gonna see is just like all this stupid shit everywhere. That like, oh fuck, like this SpongeBob thing and this My Little Pony thing, and then these like Monty Python cards, which Monty Python's cool, but like it wouldn't feel like Magic anymore. And the reality is that just simply isn't true, because even when you play some games now, and again, I don't really play Commander at like an LGS or anything. There wasn't really one near me that plays regular games. But I get on Spell Table whenever I can to play when I have time. Which gets tougher and tougher. But when I can, I do. And do we regularly see all these crazy IPs flooding the table and taking over Magic the Gathering? No, that's not the reality of it. Let's use Deadpool, for example. Like a card like Vandal Blast, which I think is a good, it's a red Commander staple in a deck. I think, if you're playing red, you probably want to throw it in there for some removal. And does that mean that every deck that holds red that has Vandal Blast is going to have that copy? No, I think it's just going to be the people that really enjoy it, think it's unique, and they want to add to their deck because it's super cool, or they want to pimp something out, or whatever reason. So that's fine. That's the way they want to play the game. And I've said for a long time when it comes to just Magic in general, the best thing about it is there's so many ways to be part of the game. Whether you're collecting, you're investing, you're buying and selling, you're just ripping packs for fun. You just love building decks. I mean, I'm sure there's some people out there that just love building decks for the fun of building decks, but don't get a chance to play as much as they want to. And but the way they get involved is by building decks. Or maybe you collect, maybe you just collect and you never play. Like Pokemon. Everyone collects that. No one knows how to fucking play the game, which is ridiculous. But then again, that's my point of view. Not to hate on Pokemon, but I don't get it. But then again, if you grew up with Pokemon, then that's your love. You know what I mean? Like I grew up playing Magic, so I love that. I don't play Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh or any other games because I grew up with Magic. So that's what I know. That's what I appreciate. So I guess if you grew up playing Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon or Fantasy TCG or uh, what, Jayad or these other weird games, there's a bunch of dead card games. If you grew up with that, then that's what you appreciate. So if you grew up watching Transformers or something like that, you're gonna love those IPs and you're gonna wanna put them in your deck, especially if you're already a Magic player and you can really connect with this thing. So that's kind of where I had to take a giant step back and prove myself wrong because I was like, nope, these are dumb. This is like a total ruin of what Magic was, and understanding that that's not what Magic is. It's a different story. Although I do think that look at like Tarkir Dragonstorm, a set that just came out, like set that feels like a Magic set. Like this really feels like a Magic set. So I think people appreciate that a little bit more, and they love to get back to that roots feel of Magic the Gathering and what it was and what it still is. But this is something else on top of that, what it can be also. So I think for anyone I think there's people that might relate to how I feel about this of the questioning all of it in the beginning, but really seeing that it actually is a good thing. And simply enough, if you don't connect with it and you don't want it, then don't use them. Don't buy them. Don't play with them. Don't trade for them. Whatever. But don't. I hate to use this word, but don't discriminate against those that like it because you like what you like. They like what they like. I like what I like. A lot of times, if I'm able to put like a vintage card in my deck of I'm going to grab like an old revised white border copy because I like the way the art looks. You know what I mean? That's my preference. You can grab a bunch of other copies for probably cheaper that are all beat up, but like I want that certain copy. And that's the cool part about it. That's why it's fun. That's why it should be accepted by everybody. If you understand what I'm saying, it's weird because I didn't think I'd ever feel that way about it until one struck me, and it was Deadpool. And I think that's how I think a lot of people feel about IPs. Some people might write it off completely, which I did, until you see that one where you're like, that's fucking cool, and I gotta grab a couple copies of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I would say, grab the ones you love, but don't hate on it. It is what it is. It's the future. It's the future of Magic the Gathering. I mean, obviously, Final Fantasy is coming out. Huge Final Fantasy fan from back in the day. I love the old school Final Fantasy, so I am super psyched. It's tough. I almost feel like some of the secret layers, like the quick release secret layers, like a SpongeBob versus like a full set Final Fantasy, are a little bit different, but it's not really. I mean, it's an IP. It's not Magic the Gathering brought into this world. So yeah, I think don't hate on people because they like something different. Just understand that they have a connection with it for whatever reason, and respect that. I think that's an important thing because I really didn't at first, and I'm glad I kind of proved myself wrong, and I learned that it's okay to do something different. It's okay to not agree with something, but know that it's actually really cool anyways. And with that said, I'm not going to grab every IP that comes out in the future. I never actually, when we were kids, like we played a little bit of tabletop Warhammer. Like we started to get into it. We never got big into it. We did the painting of the figures and all that. We all of our friends each had our own armies. We played a little bit. We never got too serious into it. So when the Warhammer one came out, I was kind of excited, but I wasn't super familiar with it. So I never actually really grabbed any to play with. I think they're amazing. I think it's a fantastic thing. But again, if you have that special connection with it, go for it and appreciate it because the toughest thing is with these IPs is they're not going to reprint anymore down the road because I'm sure that they license these IPs from these companies that own them, and it costs them a lot of money to use these for the Magic cards. Now, obviously, the company that's the IP is they make a bunch of money on the licensing and the sales of everything. But I would be willing to bet that this run is, let's say, again, using Deadpool Secret Lair, for example, this is probably the only run, of these specific cards. There might be more ones down the road, but let's say 5 years from now or a few years from now, when the contract runs up with Marvel, Disney, Marvel, and Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast for Magic the Gathering, they're probably not going to want to spend much money to do it again. They'll find a different IP. You know what I mean? So, like, say that Deadpool trading card, that version, it's probably kind of like a pseudo modern day reserve list. And I know people have said this kind of thing before, but like it's good to think about because I think it's a collectible. It really is. It's something that you can buy that and keep it and play with it and collect it and enjoy it and look at it and respect it because they're probably never going to make it again. Now, yeah, they're going to reprint Jewel Lotus again. Yes, they're going to reprint Mana Crypt again. Whether they, unban them or not in Commander, that's a whole other thing. But I'm saying is like all these cards, unless it's reserve list, can be reprinted. And don't forget, they can change the reserve list. If they wanted to reprint the reserve list, they could. They're just choosing not to because they don't need to. But like the IPs where they have to pay money to get the rights to do it, they're probably not going to. So it's kind of a cool little reserve list style collection to have. So yeah, that's just kind of my rant. This was on my mind. I just feel like turning the camera on because I realized that it's the IPs are awesome if you have a connection with them. And I think it's just important to respect that. And the point is to get people playing the game, and that's awesome. If more people playing the game, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And so, yeah, enjoy them. I like them, certain ones.